media@SAFM.
Now, who in fact are the spokespersons for Santam and Nandos? Goodness, everybody talks about them anyway. Question is, I wonder if you followed the bit of parody that took place all through the last week. Either way, it's ensured that those adverts and what they stand for top the national advertising agenda for this week, without a question. And we talk about that right after this. Right, so let's talk about two adverts that you have to admit, for whatever reason, they have even competed equally maybe with the whole issue of e-tolling, and that takes some doing. And for confirmation of that, you certainly can just go and see what trended this week on social networks like Twitter, and you'll know that the talkability was just absolutely immense. So we're going to talk about that with three people. In fact, Alistair King from King James, the ad agency for Santam, Donald Cow, the head of corporate affairs at Santam as well, and Ahmad Chili, who is the executive creative director for Black River FC. We don't have the Nando's marketing guys. I think Quinton's away on the weekend, understandably. So, Ahmad, let's start with you. Good morning. Thanks. Hi.
Good morning, Ashraf, and good morning to all your listeners.
All right, I'm going to start with you because I'm saying that that you guys started it, meaning Santam had the original advert, the one that showed just the detail that goes around with the waiter or the barman behind Ben Kingsley talking, and then Nando's decided to do what? Give us an insight into what was going on.
Okay, well, I mean, I think just to begin, it always starts off with a set of objectives that our client has to meet, which is something that most people don't consider, that the ads that we do are actually very well thought through and they meet a business need. So we were asked to actually let the public know that Nando's has more than just, chicken and chips on the menu, and that they have a whole lot of options. And when we were told there were 3 or 4 different menu options, one of the ideas that came through was a spoof on the very brilliant Santam Sir Ben Kingsley ad, where the detail changes behind him 3 or 4 times, which kind of lent itself to a parody of sorts. And that's basically the beginning of it all.
All right. Now, generally speaking, I mean, Nando's would, and I know we've discussed it before, you've sort of dominated that type of space, but how much have you done to an extent where you've actually gone and cribbed another advert, as opposed to playing on the woes of maybe e-tolling, to Helen Zille, to Zimbabwean President Robert Mugabe?
Yeah, I mean, I guess we do all of the above. Obviously, whatever is most topical is something that we normally pick on. Also, you must consider, the timing from the time that we get the brief and what is possible in terms of, and it's not always a spoof. The Dictators commercial that we did towards the end of last year wasn't a spoof or a parody on an ad, but certainly spoke about something that was quite a social topic. So in this particular case, this ad which seemed very popular, and I think with the famous names that have been hitting South Africa, the likes of Sir Ben Kingsley and some others that have been in ads, it just felt like it was something that only Nando's could do, and something that we felt we could do in a funny yet respectful way. I don't think we were disparaging in any way.
Okay, I'll tell you what I'll do is I'm going to get to the guys from Santam in just a second. Let's play the Nando's advert, because initially we had the original Santam advert, remember? So the second in a series of 3, in fact, is the Nando's advert. Let's play this. Of course, it's for television. You'll pick out the sound and we'll sort of fill in the missing pieces if we need to.
It's so easy to ignore important details, especially when they're right under your nose. How often have you looked at a Nando's menu, studied it, scrutinized it? Could you have missed one of the many meals they have on offer? No? Yes? Maybe? It's easy to overlook great meals, especially when there are so many to choose from. Don't believe me? Then tell me. Did you notice the meal beside me had changed 3 times during this ad?
Okay, that's pretty self-explanatory. Not necessarily going to run through the images at all because time very much against it. Let's then bring in the parties from Santam. We'll get to Alistair King in just a second. Let's start with Donald Cow, Head of Corporate Affairs at Santam. Donald, hi, good morning.
Good morning, Ashraf.
All right, so give us an insight now into your boardroom politics. You see this spoof from Nando's, and let me just say, the original Santam advert, I think we've discussed it certainly with Alistair before and yourself, is brilliant, right? So you then decide what? That Nandos are taking the mickey or playing around with our advert. What are we going to do?
Well, firstly, I must say, it was, for us, we sort of came across the ad, and for a second we kind of thought, oh gosh, Nandos, but they're a well-known brand, well-known humorous execution on a number of other stuff that they've done before, and it wasn't anything. Immediately in our minds, we kind of thought, well, it's a well-done execution, and it was quite humorous, and we weren't immediately sure that we wanted to necessarily respond to it. But then, as the day wore on and we kind of thought about it a little bit more in discussion with our agency, they had a brilliant idea, kind of put something back into the space, and we ran with that.
Okay, let's find out the brilliant idea. Alistair King, what did you guys think about?
Oh, we thought it was funny, Ashraf. We kind of had a good chuckle, but there's that kind of feeling you can't get away from, which is that they actually are using our property, then you feel like you should respond, but you also know that it's not always the prudent thing to do, so you restrain yourself.
So how much tempting did it take to finally say, let's go for it? Because, the other way, exactly what you said, to say, okay, Nandos always does this. Our ad is terrific anyway. Let's just move on and let Nandos do what they want.
Well, that's exactly right. No, not many people do respond to a spoof, and it's not always the right thing to do. But I guess, like all things, when you have a good idea, it's better to go with a great idea than to try and talk yourself out of it. And we felt like we had a great opportunity. I don't think any brand has corporately blackmailed on television another brand for good as well. And we've been working quite hard with Santam on a bunch of their CSR initiatives, and it was top of our mind. So we suddenly thought, geez, we can actually turn this to our advantage and benefit some kids at the same time. Okay,
well, I'll tell you what, people have no doubt that you have turned it to your advantage. And I can think, with me chatting to Andrew Human later on, could be a whole lurid discussion in its own right. Let's play the Santam advert that followed the Nandos advert.
It's been brought to our attention that a certain fast food chain has crowed our commercial. Under normal circumstances, we'd be upset, but frankly, we're flattered. And we're prepared to overlook this indiscretion if the aforementioned fast food chain follows these instructions. By 4 p.m. Thursday, we'd like the following delivered to this address: 62 lemon and herb half chicken and chips with coleslaw, 12 kids' meals with chips and toys, 74 hot sticky toffee puddings, 74 assorted cold drinks, and a Portuguese salad. It's a small price to pay, all things considered, and we're sure you'll accept this challenge gracefully. Or are you chicken?
Okay, so that's pretty self-explanatory. Of course, it's got the Ben Kingsley effect once again. I'm going to tell you, I want to ask you, that. So when Santam came up with this one, right, tell me what did the Nandos guys think together with Black River?
Well, firstly, I think our response was that's pure genius. Mm-hmm. We were expecting a response. We weren't particularly expecting the response that we got. Mm-hmm. But the kind of ads we do always, it is a calculated risk. So we thought that might go the legal route. We were quite relieved that it wasn't the legal route in this case. But we were hoping that there would be a response, because, I mean, Nandos ads often have a shelf life of a week or two before interest starts dwindling. When this came about, we thought from a creative point of view it was absolutely brilliant, but it also gave us an opportunity to ride that wave again. And we responded within a couple of hours by over-delivering on the ransom, which was great, which was awesome, because, I mean, it obviously went to a good cause. There was no question about that. The Nandos client was more than happy to deliver and to do more than that. But I think it was the beginning of something. We didn't expect the response. It was the beginning of something really amazing. And I think the response from the public was a best testament to how good this whole thing turned out ultimately.
Okay. I want to ask some questions from Santam and King James. We'll do that right after this.
Media at SAFM.
All right, so we're continuing chatting about the Nandos Santam adverts, and we now know that they are beneficiaries, and that's not the two companies at all. But interesting one, Donald Cow, in terms of where you think this will take us with regard to further advertising and the relationships where adverts, in fact, talk to each other in the future.
Yes, it's really been unique, I think. We've looked at the social responses, on Twitter and all the commentary around it, and it was almost surreal to sort of watch the topic explode, and the sort of conversations where people were saying, this is great. Here's two companies, and the benefit is to the kids. And of course, the challenge that we put to Nandos, and everybody sort of kind of urging them on. It's been great to see the response. I spent half the day on Thursday at the home itself, getting to meet the staff and meeting some of the kids. It's really been warmly received, and I think, if more of this sort of stuff can spur organizations and our community to kind of have these sort of discussions.
Okay, maybe more of the same. Yeah, Alistair, your thoughts on that? More of the same, because some are even suggesting, people, and maybe you can tell us, to say this entire thing was planned by Nandos and Santam. Now, interesting one is that they're not really competing for the same business. This is not a spoof of two insurance companies.
No, I mean, it is unique. There was no collusion whatsoever. I mean, it's one of those beautiful bolts of lightning that you get when you suddenly see an opportunity. And, even the thought of continuing the exchange wasn't really a consideration. I think Nandos eventually responded with their ad on Thursday night at 7 o'clock. I thought they were going to ruin my long weekend, but they drew it to a halt. They applauded Santam for responding so quickly and told the public what they'd done. And I thought that it had ended in the spirit of the way in which it had started. It was two brands that had no reason to be rivals in the media. They had no reason to exchange marketing blows. It ended as elegantly as it started, and I think that is a unique thing. That I don't know if it's going to create any more copycat versions of it, or whether it will start a new genre.
All right, I'll tell you what to do. Hold that thought, because we're going to take the news, and I want to chat to you guys maybe for 3-4 minutes just after the news in terms of what it means for the future. We're talking about Nandos, Santam, win-win maybe. You tell me. If you want to call in, by the way, or maybe just a quick SMS on it, 34701. I'll take that in a moment.
Media at SAFM with Ashraf Gardner.
Right, we're talking about the Nandos Santam adverts that have been discussed all throughout the week. In fact, I can tell you now, both of you, that's all three of you, in fact, from Santam, Nandos, and the agencies as well, that response generally has been absolutely terrific. Well, I wouldn't say generally. I think in all cases there have been questions asked in terms of whether it was set up. And Alistair King, you heard him say that in fact it is all very, very spontaneous. We have three guests: Alistair King from King James, the ad agency for Santam; Donald Cow, the head of corporate affairs at Santam as well; and Ahmed Tilly from Black River FC. Ahmed, what I want to ask you, I mean, can you also confirm that it was completely spontaneous, not scripted, not planned between the two? Because that's been coming through to say it had to have been planned.
Yeah, I've noticed that also on the tweets and the social media, but it was not planned at all. And I think if it were to be planned, I think it wouldn't have been as magical as it was. I mean, to be quite honest with you, I think the spontaneity of it made it surprising for everyone, including the agencies and the two clients.
Donald, what does this say? Because what I've found is, and this is an interesting one, is because besides the spontaneity, the ability of, first of all, Nandos to respond to your one, but then the ability of Santam to respond to Nandos within a matter of days. Because I want to get Alistair's views as well on this one here. But I mean that's a game changer in its own right, because that could have only taken a couple of days.
It definitely did take a couple of days. It gave our brand guys and the agency sort of the Friday, I think, to sort of conceptualize the idea, and then over the weekend quickly put it together. One of the actors to kind of pull him into it and say, hey, look, you got to do this again. But it's been a great response. It took very little resources to kind of just pull it together, because I think it immediately became quite apparent. It's done in such good taste, that parody from Nandos, and once we knew that we had a very cheeky and idea, we could put it out there. The home itself, we didn't expect it. We sort of sprung it on them, and we made the call, and they were happy to let us go run with it.
Alistair King from King James, give us your thoughts on the challenges you faced when you were called by Santam to say, let's get working. We don't have a brief to be completed in a month or 2 or 3 months. It's like a couple of days.
It happened really strangely because I think at the moment in fact, when I saw that ad, Nando's parody, my first reaction was the ad that we came up with. And we jotted it down on a piece of paper, and it took a day or two to discover that the client actually was quite keen and willing to respond, which is unique in itself. A lot of marketers would talk themselves out of that because they would want to think about it. They'd want to that kind of get into a strategic mode. But the spontaneity and their willingness of sometimes say, "Oh, let's go and take them on," which is very unique for a financial institution anyway, or an insurance company. And from that on, it took me literally 10 minutes to phone the director, to phone the actor, it just happened. And this kind of thing gets planned. The spontaneity, the sense of humor, that kind of stuff will get lost. And I'm not sure that this kind of thing will happen again quite to the same degree.
Let's find out from Amit Chilli from Black River that does the creatives for Nando's. I mean, are you going to go after more ads in this case here after this 1 year?
No, I think the fun's been had. The results been good. It's been done in good humor and good taste. I think, as I think Alistair said earlier, it all ended quite elegantly, and I think it doesn't require any further. You don't want to flog it, and I think it's ended now. It's a good time to quit while you're ahead. Basically, I think the work's been done.
Yeah, I'm just wondering. Finally, all we need to know now is that Santam, in fact, gets all their foods from Nando's, and the Nando's insures with Santam, and then we'll know whether it's classically win-win. Donald Cow, you from Santam. I mean, would you agree that in conclusion this is all win-win-win across the board? Yeah.
It's been a win-win, and I have to maybe just add here. We need to thank the home for letting us turn this campaign into a positive action. They didn't ask for it, but they've been great. The response from them has been that they've had some of their kids who've left call and say, "Hey, we've seen this message." It's been great. And secondly, we have a better understanding of their needs at the home. We've built a relationship now out of this, and that's really the greatest positive that could come out of it.
Indeed. Okay, that's where I can leave it. Well, thanks, guys. I think certainly it's an absolute game changer, and the nation loves it. That's critically important, and I think the brands Santam and Nando's, most importantly, very much now in the public mind, and as they normally are, but very much so now this last couple of weeks, which is absolutely fantastic, considering you're competing with e-tolling and that sort of thing as well. So let's leave it at that. Alistair King from King James, Donald Cow from Santam, and Amit Chilli from Black River. And if you also want to follow them even further, just check it out. Alistair King, AL Sparkles rather. That's his Twitter handle. And then Amit Chilli is at Black River FC as in football club, and at Amit Chilli, all one word, AHMED. If you ever stuck with it, just check it out with me. I'll certainly put you onto the right.